Edo State Government and the All Progressive Congress on Wednesday engaged in a war of words as the government accused the opposition party of planning violent protests in the state instead of campaigning for the September 21st governorship post because it does not have a sellable candidate. The government also swiped at the APC leader in the state, Senator Adams Oshomole, who is alleged of spewing inaccuracies on national TV. However, the director of publicity, Edo APC Governorship Campaign Council, Orobosa Omojo, accused the Godwin Obaseki administration of deceit, saying that they were being haunted by the End Bad Governance protest in the states they allegedly sponsored. Yes, sir. We have been hearing from different quarters. I mean, yesterday it was alleged that Yaya Bello was a sponsor. I mean, are people trying to take clout? Are people trying to use a national tragedy? Because, yes, the protest was important, but it wasn't something that we gloat over. Now we are seeing between the APC and PDP trying to, let's say, rubbish each other by claiming that they are sponsors of the protest. Is the event of the protest, is it taken in a light manner in this context, sir?
Well, clearly so. Don't forget, I'm even surprised you're jumping your own beloved River State. That is the same unfounded accusation.
Exactly.
But it's a common knowledge that the protest rather is effectively sponsored by hunger and bad governance, economic imbalance, injustice of the highest order, abuse of power. These are the very immediate sponsors of the current protests. So, but no surprise, like my icon Nelson Mandela will always opine that the quality of change in any society is largely dependent on the quality of leadership exercise. So when you find crop of Nigerian politicians, this is their trade in stock. That is, they raise very petty, irrelevant issues that characterize their quality. For the last 24 years of our democratic experience, I stand to be corrected, we had hardly seen democratic leaders in Nigeria. Permit me, it's even very expensive to qualify them that they are democratic leaders. But from what we can see, they are a million miles far from the values, the core values of a democratic leader or a Democrat, who first of all must believe in free expression, participation, freely, without any encumbrances, should freely participate. Equal right must be respected. The rule of law must be respected. Party ideology must be supreme. But the crop of politicians we find in Nigeria largely are a million miles far. They don't believe in this. So anytime there is this kind of moral crisis, like F. Kennedy will call it, they are quick to whip up very pedestrian, petty things to preoccupy the mind of, undiscerning and unsuspecting public. So that's why you find all these counter accusations and very unfounded suspicion and fears. Otherwise, how else would one explain that if it is not true, particularly like if you want to dwell on Edo State now, was it not just seconds after Shaibu was affirmed by the Supreme Court to go reoccupy his position? Exactly. I watched his interview, how to the extent of even talking to the CP of the state, but just minutes after he alighted the airport gates or go through, he was faced with gunshots and so at that time, remember, there was no end bad governance. So who will they point at that sponsored that? Till date, we are yet to unravel the sponsors.
And the death of a policeman.
Thank you, fine. I can't even afford to forget that. May he so rest in peace. Yes, now, in serious society, where serious people and serious government take serious issues seriously, that won't be swept under the carpet.
Exactly.
So, and many more, and just countless of such instances. It was before this protest. So, in all, the protest is a sharp confirmation that there is failure of leadership. Irresponsible for that matter, because in fact yesterday I was in a sister station and I tried to point out, I said, look, the way it is going now, it has become necessary to criminalize manifestos. Since we don't have it as part of our political culture, we have public officers whom clearly very considerable facts and reasons that you had failed, indicators, pointers, that look, you can no longer provide service. You can no longer meet the demands and yearnings of the people. Therefore, you have no business still demonstrating this sense of entitlement, as if the public office is your biological family inheritance. I think it has become necessary we criminalize that position, so that if clearly when circumstance presents itself that you have shown lack of leadership, irresponsibility, you please should resign. If you fail to do so, then we can bring legal. It is not a crime that you must resign, because that's the way it is going. You find the people, they just carry on, because a quick one, I must say this. Generally what is going on, regardless what these other very enemies of the state, because there are people who don't love the state. If you love the state, you won't be trading blames in the circumstance.
Exactly.
Your focus will be how to appease and persuade protesters and communicate to them in a manner that proves that you are prepared to do things differently. Yeah. You are not concerned about that. First of all, there hasn't been accountability, which is actually the hallmark. In fact, as if the great fella now is spat into my mouth, or my spat into his mouth. Yesterday, in fact, my host was amazed when I was suggesting that we were about rounding up the program. I said, look, I wish the protest would just take a retreat, re-strategize, that the federal lawmakers should be the next port of call. Just so that I was watching the interview, I said, this is how you know great minds. Fella and I have not met physically, but he's saying exactly the same thing. That's how you know, those of us who understand what should be the center of the struggle. No accountability. Yeah. Since after the military days, where the average Nigerian had carried on with this mentality to think that we are still under the top-bottom approach or the despotic system. You have a dictator, a military junta, where decisions just flow from one man and everybody must abide by it. In fact, the word of the military head of state is law. Yes. Usually they suspend the other two arms. You have only the judiciary left. Exactly. Even the judiciary most times are at the mercy of the military dictates. Yes. So if you watch carefully, since 1999 we are privileged to return to this democratic experience. That appears to be even what the civilians in power had carried on with. That the citizens, the electorates, have no say, have no right to participate in the process of governance. That is the mentality they have posed out there. And a good number of Nigerians tend to think that it is the norm. Otherwise, we will just continue with the military junta, where it is clear we now know that our freedom to express ourselves is limited. Exactly. So we can tolerate that. Not clearly when there are practical indicators that we have inherited and embraced a democratic experience. And in attempt to express ourselves, you suppress us. Revoking that same mentality as if we are under a military junta.
Exactly.
So I was suggesting, I said, look, it is high time the federal, particularly the senators, you must, because it is their failure, their constitutional, social responsibility, moral responsibility, legal responsibility to hold the executive, to whom now the attention is, which is led by the president at the federal level. So that is why many times too, since 1999, you find if anything goes wrong or right at the federal level is the president. Still like you have a dictator. Yes. If anything goes wrong or right at the state level is the governor. Whereas in a representative system, the natural movement from tyranny to a representative, like in ancient Greek, those who walked to Israel will say, when did the Senate become the representative of the people? When they were applause to overthrow Caesar. The likes of Pompey. Yeah. They posed that question. Because they wanted to prove that, yes, it is the Senate. The real embodiment of democracy is the lawmakers. That is the natural difference from tyranny or dictatorship. Yes. Therefore, if policies and programs of government don't actually reflect or satisfy the demands, the needs, the yearnings of the people, the first port of call, the man that more questions should be channeled to, is the lawmaker.
It's the lawmaker.
Because we all can't be in the government house at the same time. Exactly. That is why we collectively donated our authority to.
In fact, the executive are like the poster boys.
Exactly. But if you look, the practical reality now is that the executive appears to be the actual culprit.
Yes.
Because we are carried on with the mentality to think that we have a military head of state there. Exactly. So I think that the earlier we realize that, of course, that's why myself and a couple of team, we feel we launched a campaign, this recall process. It's constitutional, section 69.
Recall process, yes.
Because I just think, because I sympathize with some of us who have actually exhausted energy, time, sustained process. Very commendable, at least standing against all with all the threats. You can see, it raises the issue of legitimacy.
Yeah.
Legitimacy. Because if a government is legitimate, like I've asked, look at the energy President Tinubu goes about attending functions outside the country. But I recall that build up to the 2023 elections, even the River State, he was able to visit. The same one that President Buhari.
Yes.
There is no culture. If actually you derive, like Section 14 sub 2 had said, sovereignty belongs to the people.
Exactly.
From whom the Constitution derives its authority, from where the government, from where the Constitution derives its power.
Yeah.
That's Section 14 sub 2. That sovereignty belongs to the people. What is sovereignty? Their power, the ability to make law and enforce it. So if the law says it belongs to the people, is to the extent you can see how serious, while you as a senator or a House of Rep member, you're not on your own.
Exactly.
In fact, they also at the point when I made a case to say, when they say, you can't, the only legitimate way to change the government is through election. I say it's not totally correct. If we go by that provision. Yes, if you have a clear understanding of sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom the Constitution derives its powers, from where the government derives its authority. You see, power, authority.
Exactly.
So the ability to communicate the social reality and effect of these provisions, I think, is another cause for another day. Exactly. It's something the civil society and those of us who are championing this must commit our time and energy. It's not a one-off thing. We need to create that culture and sustain it. For example, like resources now, we could, after even these 10 days, like, go about state by state, hire big halls, make jingles, invite people. We have a right to host some symposium. Call it a symposium. Where the central focus will be, making it, because if you go by sections now, what is the process? Just the same rigor you go through during elections. So you see, there is a balance. Nobody should come and lie to you that, it's come back somewhere. It has never happened in Nigeria to recall. Let us try it.
Yes. Let
us test if truly, just the same courage you have demonstrated, if truly the power belongs to the people. You are a senator, you don't have any constituency office. Wherein it requires that you come time to time to have interface, deliberate, interact, policies and programs. That is why for most times if you take a look at when they have their sitting, you find vacant seats. Where are they? Busy idling away in hotels with number of daughters of Eve, to whom they allocate these resources. Like I put it in a lighter mood, my friends love. I said, those are the daughters of Eve in that room are the constituency members they should be spending time with. So you just come back later, the Senate president is passing one, says one funny thing, you just say you concur. You concur on whose authority? Whereas what you should be concurring are the same reasons why these guys are taking to the street. Over time now, in fact, I keep telling you, if you can't trace the violent crime even before this protest began, you discover that it is 70% accounts for failure. Some people understand. I have somebody representing me in the government. I don't even know his name. I don't know how he looks like.
Exactly.
And I have needs. I have grievances I want to express. I can't access investors in my local community. I don't know what the law says. I am angered and I need to survive. I need to live. I need to pay my bills. But I'm told that for me to be peaceful, for me to conduct myself, I need to involve the person representing me in government. But this man representing me, I've never set my eyes on him. In fact, I hear that the only time he comes around the committee is either for burials or a marriage ceremony or chieftaincy. That's the only, and even that time, he's surrounded with retinue of riot, stern-looking mopole officers chasing you with the nozzle of the gun. As if you're under him. That's even a crime. In serious societies, it's only high-profile criminals they escort with arms. And with due respect, it's an irony. No, let people go and find out. Here is the only society you find somebody called honorable distinguished. He's been a did you steal? Are you a suspect? Then the law says sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom the constitution derives its powers, from where the government derives its authority.
But sir, if you want to ride on the power of recall,
yes, please.
What do you envisage as the bottlenecks to use utilization of
it's
power?
Because you see, it's like if I borrow from the biblical principle, say you need the voice of a king. This evil, they come speak evil to the people get intimidated. Paint very Goliath kind of picture. So the people for the first time have not been communicated to. Many electors don't even know that it is constitutional to recall these guys. All you need is 2/3. What you need is a collection of petitions.
So have it happened before?
That is what I'm saying.
Okay, sir.
There must be a first time. It's like now the political class is surprised that Nigerians could own up to a street protest. Can't you see the resistance? Can't you see the amount of fear they are putting up? It's because they never expect. They feel that both their diabolical means are enough to keep the people down. We are tempted to think so. Because there are things you look at. It's beyond the natural.
Exactly.
It's just beyond the ordinary. So, but now, it's like the jinx is broken. They're like, wow, we thought our fortress will continue to keep this people down. What is this? Where did they get this extraordinary courage? That is the same way, if we can begin to, those of us who are interested in this better Nigeria and the struggle for freedom, let us commit our resources. Let us keep the close. This idea of a hero standalone won't work. In any way we can mobilize resources, both time, energy, and financial resources, I believe strongly that if we commit it to symposiums, which is a little more peaceful and non-violent,
exactly,
not really taken to the street. Protests have something like Okonkwo pointed out in his Arise interview, when the great Martin Luther King, part of the non-violent strategy was to boycott the transport system.
Yes.
So okay, the blacks should take to trekking to their offices. By the time the white committee saw that revenue was not coming from the transport, nobody told them to realize that truly it is a sacred truth that all men were born equal. So that's why I'm appealing. There is need to re-strategize. Let us identify, like he said, truly, of course, on the road to freedom and the struggle, you need to find a way to inflict pain, psychological pain, on the oppressor. There is need. So that we don't go losing precious, innocent lives at the mercy of trigger-happy or very uncivilized, primitive security agencies. So we can gather symposiums. For example, now look at that. Squabble has over 32 LGs. Yeah. So one senator there has over 10 LGs under him, bigger than Bayelsa State. Yeah. In River State, there is only the River Southeast that has 7 LGs. The other 2 senatorial districts have 88 LGs. There's one senator in River State here is equal to Bayelsa State Government. Yes. In fact, one of those 2 that have 88 LGs. So we could take date, time, venue, sustain a jingle, invite delegates, as many that can make themselves available from these 8 LGs, because all the constitution requires 2/3. So we don't even need everybody. 2/3. We can fall back to registers, INEC register. Because it says the constitution requires get 2/3 of petition and submit to INEC. INEC in turn conducts a referendum. Okay. That's what it takes. That's all we need. Then let us ignite it, let us initiate it, let it not be left that when we get to a certain level of that process, those who are responsible fail to do what they do. We know how to go about it. We approach the law courts. There are special orders that force government agencies, departments, parastatal ministries, individuals, authorities to do certain things. I believe strongly that we can begin to, while we're exploring local authorities, we petition international communities. Like what has gone on, this is genocide. Imagine that, unfortunately, in the Kenyan quick comparison, over 22 lives, but in the end, Ruto did not wait for the next day. Just as he saw the assembly being brought down in flames, he rushed the national, so I withdraw all the unpopular tax policy. You know, there's to the extent that even the cost of groundnut cooking oil. Yes, if you go back and check that Kenya experience now, it was to the extent of even groundnut oil. They said, no, this is not our plan. This is not, we don't want this. And you heard in Ruto's speech, he said, that from what has happened, he just realized that this is not what the people want. This is a society where, despite their mistakes, you see leadership owning up, showing that the power belongs to the people. Regardless, yes, it's very unfortunate that lives would have been lost, but that's humility, that's demonstration. But look at our case. Look at the hostility, look at the arrogance. Look at the disposition. Look at the statements you said. Look at talking in a manner as if the people have no place in the process. That in itself is violence. Creating a sense of exclusion. All that the great ANC fought against in South Africa. Discrimination.
Exactly.
Behaving as if what is government? A few people in authority. It just doesn't say another. That's what you call government.
Neo-colonialism by our own people.
So if they continue in this manner, they should be reminded that it raises a fundamental question of legitimacy. That is, you're showing us that truly you did not enjoy our popular votes. Honestly, if you ask me, that is a point you're trying to score. That is the impression you're creating, both local and international, that look, in the first place, you don't enjoy our popularity. Therefore, that is the reason you don't care about us. You don't care how many persons. Look at the speech. No remorse over those who lost their lives.
Okay, sir.